chosen one, listen closely. You didn't arrive at this day by accident. The 20th of June is not just a date, it's a divine marker etched into heaven's timeline, sealed with your name long before your first breath. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, and today something sacred is being unlocked on your behalf. In the unseen realm, a shift has begun. If your spirit has felt restless, stirred without reason, it's because heaven has moved. This is not emotion, it is divine alignment. The silence is breaking. The seal has been lifted. What was held back is now being released. This is not just comfort, it is destiny in motion. And now God commands you, open this. This is your hour not to fear but to respond. The 20th of June is not random. It is a portal, a holy interruption that calls you out of waiting and into divine fulfillment. What you felt rising within you is real. You are being called to receive, because this is the day, somewhere between the breath you just took and the one coming next, something has begun to shift in the unseen, not in public view, not on social media, not with trumpets or applause, but in the deep, weighty chambers of the spiritual realm. What once stood still has started to move. What once felt locked away has started to loosen. What was once delayed is now awakening. And though the world around you may seem unchanged, something sacred is stirring under the surface, and it carries your name. This movement didn't come by request, it came by command. There are moments in time when heaven decides, enough delay, and the clock of divine timing strikes. This is one of those moments. The stillness of your season was not empty. It was holy. It was guarded. It was strategic. While others rushed ahead, you were held back, not forgotten but preserved, not disqualified but hidden. And now the curtain has begun to lift. What you're sensing, the heaviness, the restlessness, the strange dreams, the way your heart has suddenly become sensitive to certain names or memories, these are not random. They are signals. The atmosphere around your life has shifted. The silence has ended. The appointed hour has begun. And though you cannot yet see the full picture, you are standing in the tremor of something massive, something divine that has already been set in motion. This is not just an answer to a prayer. This is a reversal, a rerouting, a releasing. What was entangled is being straightened. What was buried is being brought back to light. You may not understand the timing, the method, or the vessel it will come through, but you don't need to. The movement has already been initiated, and heaven is not seeking your comprehension, only your obedience, your openness, your readiness. It's important you understand, movements like this do not begin in noise. They begin in weight. You feel it in your chest before you see it in your life. You feel the gravity of it before you touch the reality of it. This is why your body has felt heavy, why your emotions have been inconsistent, why your sleep has been interrupted. Your spirit knows something your mind hasn't yet caught up with. This is that knowing. This is that beginning. What had been blocked for months, even years, is starting to shift position, not because you forced it, not because you begged for it, but because heaven has released the word, and when that word goes forth, no demon in hell and no doubt in your mind can stop it. It may have taken longer than you hoped. It may look different than you imagined, but it's coming, and it's yours. As C.S. Lewis writes, in Mere Christianity, it may be hard for an egg to turn into a bird. It would be a jolly sight harder for it to learn to fly while remaining an egg. We are like eggs at present, and you cannot go on, indefinitely, being just an ordinary decent egg. We must be hatched or go bad. You are at the moment of hatching. Chosen one, breaking free from the shell of delay to rise into the destiny heaven has prepared for you. Let the movement happen. Don't resist it. Don't try to understand it all at once. Just respond. Listen to the whispers. Watch for the signs. Stay soft. Stay awake. Because in the next few days, the spiritual becomes physical. The invisible becomes visible. And what has been hovering above you is about to touch the ground beneath you. You are no longer waiting for it. It's already begun. This is not a general outpouring. This is not a wave that simply touches whoever happens to be nearby. What has been set in motion is personal. It is precise. It carries your spiritual fingerprint. It has been shaped by your history, your tears, your sacrifices, and your long, silent endurance. This is not just a divine release, it is your divine release. Heaven does not operate in vague gestures. When God moves, he moves with accuracy. And what is unfolding now was not sent to the world at large. It was sent to you. Not because you are more deserving, not because you shouted the loudest, but because you have been quietly faithful in the unseen. You stayed. You endured. You wrestled with questions. No one knew you had. You carried burdens without asking for applause. You showed up even when your heart was shattered. You didn't quit when you had every reason to. And now heaven answers that faith not with a reward for performance, but with a release meant for alignment. What's coming is not payment. It's fulfillment. What's arriving is not just something you want. It's something that was destined to meet you, something that can only attach itself to a soul prepared by fire. This is why the movement feels so weighted, because it's not abstract. It's carrying details. It's laced with names, conversations, places you almost forgot about, promises you once buried under disappointment. But heaven didn't bury them. Heaven preserved them. And now, as the movement sweeps toward you, it is bringing those pieces back, not to repeat the past, but to redeem it. You've asked silently, was all of this for nothing? Did I misunderstand what I felt? Was I wrong about that person, that calling that moment I thought was divine? No, you weren't wrong. You were early. And the delay was not punishment. It was preservation, because had it come sooner, it would have broken under the weight of your unhealed places. But now the healing has happened quietly, deeply, thoroughly, and the version of you standing in this hour, this version can hold the blessing. There is no more need to wonder if you've been skipped. You haven't. You were chosen. And what you are about to witness will make that truth impossible to deny. The blessing will be specific. The confirmation will be undeniable. It will carry names, dates, moments, memories only you and heaven remember. And when it comes, you will not question, is this for me? You will say with trembling certainty, only heaven could have orchestrated this. This movement is not general. It is yours. Somewhere, whether tucked away in the natural world or sealed within the realm of spirit, a message has already been written for you. Not for the masses, not for many, but for you alone. A note, a confession, a long-silenced truth that could no longer be withheld. It may not come in the form you imagined. It might not be scrawled on paper or typed out in a message you can hold in your hands. But it will arrive in its own way, through its own vessel, carrying a weight that your soul will instantly recognize as C.S. Lewis reminds us in Letters to Malcolm chiefly on prayer, we may ignore, but we can nowhere evade the presence of God. The world is crowded with him. This message, this note, is a manifestation of God's inescapable presence, sent to affirm that you have never been alone in your journey. Perhaps it comes as a sentence that breaks the silence between you and someone you never thought you'd hear from again. Perhaps it's a phone call you stopped expecting, or a subtle shift in someone's behavior that speaks louder than words. Or maybe it's something more quiet, a name spoken in a dream, a line of a song that strikes too deeply to be random, a conversation overheard that pierces your spirit. However it comes, know this, it's already moving toward you. It has already been released into motion. You are not waiting for it anymore. It is now finding its way to you. For the one who carries this message, yes, there is someone they have struggled under the weight of unspoken truth. They buried it for a long time. Out of fear, out of pride, out of confusion, they convinced themselves it was better to forget, better to stay silent, better to keep walking. But heaven has not allowed them peace. Their soul has been stirred in ways they don't fully understand. They have seen you in unexpected moments, heard your name in places they didn't expect, felt your presence in the quiet between tasks. The truth they once avoided is now burning too bright to be ignored. And so the message is coming, maybe reluctantly, maybe haltingly, but it's coming, because it must. This note is more than closure. It is more than sentiment. It is a sign, a sacred key. It unlocks something within you that's been sealed for too long. The longing you buried, the ache. You couldn't explain the prayer. You stopped praying because it hurt too much to hope. And while it may not fix everything, it will mark the beginning of restoration. It will be the undeniable confirmation that you were never forgotten, never invisible, never speaking into a void. Heaven was listening all along. And when it reaches you, it will feel holy. There will be a quiet in your spirit, a reverence. You won't need to ask, is this it? You will know. You will feel it in your chest, in the way time slows down around you, in the sudden clarity that settles in your thoughts. You will understand that something sacred has arrived, not by chance, but by divine appointment. Do not rush it. Do not second-guess it. And when it comes, however it comes, do not dismiss it. This is not just a coincidence. It is not just someone finally realizing something. This is the response to what you whispered in the dark. This is heaven writing back. What they say may be simple. What they offer may be humble. But it will be enough. It will be true. And it will carry something only you were meant to receive. The note has been left. The message has been sent. And it is already on the way to you. You've done it before, looked away when heaven tried to reach you. You felt the stirring in your chest, the sudden quickening of your spirit, the sign that appeared right when you were questioning everything, and you brushed it off. You told yourself it was coincidence, just another thought, just another false alarm. But it wasn't. Heaven was reaching out. And the truth is, you've missed some things, not because you weren't worthy, but because the pain trained you to doubt what was real. This time it must be different. As C.S. Lewis writes in the Screwtape Letters, courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point. This moment is your testing point, and it demands the courage to trust what your spirit knows to be true, even when your mind hesitates. You cannot afford to turn away again. You cannot silence your intuition just because your logic demands proof. There is too much riding on this moment. This isn't just another opportunity. It's a divine appointment, the kind that doesn't come around twice. And that's why heaven is pressing in with more urgency than before. That's why the signs are louder now. Why the timing feels heavier. Why the message is finding its way to you in unmistakable ways. Because you are not meant to miss it this time. You've grown used to disappointment, and it has made you cautious, careful, guarded. But the same armor that has protected your heart is now threatening to block your blessing. And if you let fear make this decision, you'll stay locked in a season that heaven is trying to bring you out of. This is not the hour to second guess. This is not the moment to overanalyze. This is the moment to respond. Even if it feels fragile, even if it feels unfamiliar, even if your heart still bears scars from the last time you hoped, let this be the shift. Let this be the moment when you say yes to what you don't fully understand, but deeply recognize. Let this be the time when you trust the voice inside you that says, this is real. That still quiet voice has never lied to you. It has never mocked you. It has always pointed you toward truth, even when truth was hard. And right now it's speaking again, gently but urgently, inviting you to believe that what's coming is not deception, but destiny. Heaven has sent this message more than once, but now the delivery is marked with a seal of finality. This moment is sacred. The note is already close. The signs are already active. The shift has already begun. All that's left is your agreement, your willingness to open your heart and let the moment in. Don't let hesitation close the door that heaven has already opened. Don't let the fear of being hurt again cause you to miss the healing that's already on its way. This time, let your spirit stay open. Let your heart stay soft. Let yourself believe that maybe, just maybe, this is exactly what you've been waiting for all along. Because it is, It felt cruel at times, the silence, the stillness, the sense that everyone else was moving forward while you were left behind in a season with no exit sign. You questioned everything, your worth, your prayers, even your discernment. You wondered if maybe you misheard heaven, misunderstood the signs, misread the moments that once felt so divine. But what you called delay, heaven called design. What felt like abandonment was actually preservation, and what seemed like punishment was in truth a slow and deliberate preparation for something too sacred to be rushed. The waiting shaped you. It carved you out. It taught you to listen in silence, to stand without applause, to carry dreams without external validation. It taught you to survive in quiet rooms, to grow in dry seasons, to stay faithful even when no harvest came. And now everything that once felt wasted is being gathered by divine hands. Nothing lost, nothing forgotten, nothing pointless. Every moment was preparation for the hour that is now upon you. There were things heaven would not allow you to touch before, not because you weren't worthy, but because your spirit was still healing. There were places you wanted to go, relationships you wanted to restore, promises you tried to force open, and none of it worked. Not because you failed, but because you were being protected from premature access. You were being refined in secret, built in silence, strengthened in the unseen. And though it was hard, and though your heart broke more than once along the way, the truth is you're still here. And you're stronger now than you've ever been. You can carry it now. You can steward what's coming. You can hold the weight of the promise without collapsing under it. Because you're not the same person who first prayed for this. You're wiser, softer, sharper. Your discernment has deepened, your roots have grown, and your heart, though scarred, is more open than ever before. This is what heaven was waiting for. Not perfection, not performance, readiness. And now you are ready. The very things that felt like barriers were actually blessings. The closed doors protected you. The detour developed you. The isolation taught you to hear the voice of God without needing confirmation from the crowd. What others saw as loss, heaven saw as alignment. What others mocked as failure, heaven used as a foundation. And now, as this sacred movement unfolds, you will begin to see how every delay was mercy, every detour was protection, and every painful lesson was part of your preparation. There is no shame in the waiting, only purpose, only strategy, only grace. Now the waiting ends not because time ran out, but because your spirit grew into its timing. You didn't see it, but the battle around your life has been intense. While you were trying to survive what you thought was emotional fatigue or spiritual silence, there was a war being waged over your destiny, one you were never meant to fight alone. Behind the veil, angelic assignments were issued. Forces of darkness attempted to delay, distract, and detour you, but they were intercepted by something far stronger. For this moment, Archangel Michael was appointed as your defender. Not all breakthroughs arrive quietly. Some come with resistance. Some are contested in the realm of spirit, long before they manifest in the natural. The kind of miracle that is heading toward you now is not minor, it is pivotal, and because of that, it has been opposed. You may have felt it in your body, an unexplainable exhaustion, a tension that clings to your spirit, a heaviness you couldn't shake. That wasn't weakness. That was spiritual pressure. Something in the unseen was trying to bind what heaven was preparing to release. But Michael stood guard. While you wrestled with doubt, Michael stood between you and deception. While you were unaware of what was lurking beyond your field of vision, he raised his sword to silence voices sent to confuse you. When you were at your weakest, too tired to pray, too numb to hope, he did not sleep. He surrounded your space, deflected attacks, and shielded the very gate that heaven was preparing to open for you. Heaven never left you uncovered. Michael's presence in your life is not symbolic, it's strategic. His assignment over this chapter of your journey is proof of how important it is. You are not walking into something ordinary. You are stepping into an unfolding that has generational weight, relational healing, and spiritual purpose tied to it. And because of that, the opposition was real, but so was the protection. The enemy tried to bind you to counterfeit opportunities, relationships that looked divine, but were rooted in control decisions that seemed wise but would have pulled you out of alignment. Michael saw through all of it, and he guarded your yes. Even now, he remains stationed, not to alarm you, but to accompany the release. This breakthrough is not arriving alone. It is escorted, and when it reaches your life, you will feel the clarity, the confusion will lift, the swirl of uncertainty will break. The moment will come, sacred, weighty, undeniable, and you will sense that what is entering your life has been fought for, protected and preserved by heaven itself. When that gate swings open, don't hesitate. Don't second-guess the purity of the moment. Trust the covering that has surrounded you all this time. Michael didn't guard the gate in vain. He guarded it for this. As the promise draws near, a holy responsibility is now being placed on your heart. You must make room. Not just physical space, but emotional space, spiritual space, internal space, because what's coming cannot dwell in a heart still cluttered with what was never meant to stay. The blessing you've been waiting for is not just sacred, it is weighty, and it will not land where there is no room to receive it fully. You have held on to things that once made you feel safe, conversations, left unfinished hopes that turned into habits, people who gave you just enough to keep you waiting but never enough to make you whole. You've kept memories like monuments, reread messages that no longer carry life, replayed scenes in your mind that only serve to reopen wounds, but now heaven is asking you to release them not as punishment, but as preparation. The space that those old attachments occupy is the same space your promise is meant to fill, and it cannot be both. You cannot hold on to what hurt you just to avoid feeling lonely. You cannot cling to artificial peace in the name of control and expect divine alignment to find a home there. The old must be laid down. The door must be shut. The echo must be silenced. This isn't about bitterness. It's about boundaries. It's about letting go, not because you're angry, but because you finally understand what you're worth. It's about trusting that what heaven is bringing is not just familiar, but true. Not just comforting, but healing. The blessing that's approaching doesn't require you to chase it, beg for it, or shrink to keep it. It will meet you where you are. Speak peace instead of games, and carry not perfection, but presence, the unmistakable presence of the one who sent it. And you'll know it's from heaven, because it won't ask you to compromise your identity to be loved. So now the question becomes, will you clear the space? Will you let go of the versions of love you accepted out of fear? Will you stop rereading the past in search of meaning it never gave you? Will you remove the placeholders you've allowed to stay, just to numb the ache of waiting? Because the real thing is coming. It's not a concept. It's not a hope. It's a person. A moment, a word, a shift, and when it arrives, it deserves a place untouched by residue and comparison. You cannot carry this new thing with hands still clinging to what was never real. This is the invitation. Purge the heart. Release the weight. Let go of the half-closed doors, the strings still tied to nothing, the shadows of people who chose not to stay. The time has come. The miracle is not waiting for you to feel ready. It's waiting for you to be empty enough to receive. Make space, because what's coming is holy, and it cannot be shared with ghosts. Heaven never delivers without confirmation. Long before the blessing reaches your hands, the signs will begin to whisper to your spirit. Subtle, sacred, undeniable. They will not come with fanfare, but they will carry authority, speaking to the deepest part of you that already knows this is not ordinary. That part of you, the one that's grown in silence, the one heaven has been forming in the dark, is about to recognize what the natural mind cannot explain. You will hear a name that once meant everything to you, spoken unexpectedly in a place or moment that makes your breath catch. You will pass by a symbol, a song, an image, something seemingly random, but it will strike your heart like a bell. You will dream a dream so vivid it feels like memory, though it hasn't happened yet. You will walk into a space that feels familiar, even though you've never stood there before. and your spirit will tremble not with fear but with clarity. These are not coincidences. They are previews. They are heaven's way of telling you, get ready. It's closer than you think. The alignment has already begun. Conversations are already being had about you in rooms. Your name hasn't entered yet. Doors are being nudged open slowly, quietly, until the moment comes when they swing wide. A heart you once grieved is being stirred. A person you thought forgot you is waking up to what they were blind to before. The timing, once impossible, is coming into divine order. You may not see all the pieces shifting, but they are. What you buried as over is being resurrected not to trap you in the past, but to restore what was always meant to live. And heaven is being kind. It is not just delivering the miracle, it is preparing your soul to recognize it. You won't have to ask 10 people for confirmation. You won't need a sign upon a sign, because your spirit will know. There will be peace that contradicts every logical fear. There will be stillness in your chest when you hear what should have made you panic. There will be clarity where confusion once lived. And in that moment, when the conversation happens, when the person returns, when the door opens, you will not run. You will not freeze. You will not dismiss it like before. You'll breathe it in, and you'll say, "This is what I was waiting for." It won't come to prove anything to anyone else. It won't arrive just to heal your ego or soothe your wounds. It will come to fulfill something deeper, something heaven spoke over you before the pain ever touched you. And the signs you're about to see are not about if it's coming, they are proof that it's already begun. Watch closely. Stay open. Expect confirmation in unusual places, because the signs will come before the arrival, and when they do, they will speak louder than words. You've wondered if this is another trial, another cycle, another moment sent to stretch you without reward. But let it be clear, this is not a test. You are not being examined again to prove your faith or your endurance. That part of the journey is complete. The wilderness was your proving ground. The silence was your preparation. The pruning has already taken place. What's unfolding now is not a measurement of your obedience, it's the manifestation of your readiness. This is a release. What has been locked away, delayed and preserved for the appointed time, is now being handed to you, not in pieces, not in hints, but in fullness. This is the kind of release that shifts atmospheres, that settles long battles, that answers prayers too old to remember the first time you spoke them. It's the kind of release that doesn't come with a warning because it was always meant to come suddenly, like rain after drought, like sunrise after years of night. This isn't about passing one final test. This is about entering what has already been prepared for you. There is nothing left to prove. You've already done the hard part, holding on when it felt like no one was coming, believing when the silence screamed, otherwise loving with nothing in return. You've proven your spirit. You've proven your trust, and heaven has seen it all. Now you are being invited to receive not just comfort, not just inner peace, something tangible, something you can name, something you can touch and say, "This is what I prayed for." You won't need to force it. You won't need to chase it. It will arrive as naturally as breath, but with the weight of heaven behind it. And when it comes, you'll feel it in your chest first. The pressure will lift, the confusion will fade, and a holy stillness will settle inside you. That's how you'll know the release has landed. You may cry. You may fall to your knees. You may stand in stunned silence as the years of waiting collapse into one undeniable moment of grace. Don't hold back. Let it wash over you. This is heaven's way of responding to everything you carried in the dark. This is justice. This is mercy. This is fulfillment. This isn't a trick. It isn't a test. It is the promise finally arriving. You've grown accustomed to internal victories, quiet breakthroughs, moments where peace returned for a few hours, or where you finally slept through the night without anxiety. You've called those victories, and they were. But now something deeper is being sent your way. Not just a feeling, not just a sense of hope or inner calm. What's coming now is tangible, real, visible. Heaven is no longer ministering only to your heart. It is preparing to touch your life in a way others will see. This next chapter will not be just about healing your soul. It will be about restoring your name, rebuilding what was lost, and releasing what had been withheld. The shift will not only be internal, it will manifest around you, in your environment, in your relationships, in your provision, in your direction. You've carried the invisible weight long enough. You've done the hidden work of transformation when no one was watching. You've endured seasons of being misunderstood, misjudged, overlooked even by those you thought were sent to walk with you. But all of that has been preparing the foundation for something that cannot be denied. This is not about making you feel better. It's about repositioning you in the very space where you were once silenced. The breakthrough is not a mood swing. It's not a sudden burst of motivation that fades by morning. It is the kind of miracle you can point to and say, there it happened. A conversation you thought would never take place. A door you thought had been locked forever. A letter, a text, a name spoken again. A face you hadn't seen in years, suddenly brought back into alignment. Not for pain, but for peace. You won't have to question it because it will carry weight, substance, clarity. When it enters your life, it won't come to stir up old wounds. It will come to bring closure where needed, and opening where there was once only silence. What's coming has your name on it, not as compensation for what you lost, but as the completion of what was always yours. There are prayers you whispered half-heartedly just in case God was still listening. There are dreams you buried so deeply that even you forgot where you placed them. But heaven didn't. And now the answer is arriving not in theory but in truth. You'll be able to trace the fingerprints of heaven on every part of it. It will feel too precise to be random, too kind to be man-made, too personal to be anything but divine. And when it settles into your life, you'll finally breathe differently. Not with panic, not with fear, but with the peace that comes when the waiting ends. This is not a comfort-only season. This is a manifestation season. What's coming is not just emotional, it's real. Someone left, maybe abruptly, maybe slowly over time, maybe with words they never meant, or with silence that said everything. Whatever the way, they walked away, and in doing so they took something from you, something unspoken, unresolved, unfinished. But what they didn't realize is that they also left something behind. It wasn't visible, it wasn't obvious, but it was real. A trace of them, a word they meant to say but couldn't, a gesture that never made it past their fear, a truth that stayed, lodged in their chest long after they turned away. That leftover piece, half-formed, unexpressed, has been echoing in the spirit. And now in this divinely appointed hour, it's beginning to resurface. This is not about reopening wounds. It's not about dragging you back into cycles of disappointment. This is about something sacred, unfinished business that heaven refused to let stay buried. What was left unsaid is finding its way to light, not for drama or chaos, but for healing, restoration, completion. This is not the past coming back to haunt you. It is the past being summoned to resolve what it failed to finish. They thought they could move on, forget, rebuild somewhere else. But your name remained lodged in their memory like a note they couldn't throw away. Like a prayer, they tried not to pray. And now something is stirring in them. Maybe they don't understand it. Maybe they can't explain why they've been dreaming about you, why your name keeps surfacing in conversations they didn't expect, why your presence lingers when everything else fades. But you know, because your spirit felt it before it ever reached your ears, there is something they need to say, something they didn't know how to say when they had the chance. And now, under the weight of divine timing, it is rising to the surface. Whether it comes in a conversation, a message, an accidental encounter that feels too precise to be random, you will know. Not because it feels dramatic, but because it feels true. It may not be grand, It may not come with perfect words or perfect timing, but it will be sincere. And when it comes, your spirit will recognize it, not as manipulation, not as unfinished temptation, but as closure, as clarity, as a door either meant to reopen or finally be sealed with peace. This is heaven, bringing back what was incomplete, not so you can reattach yourself to pain, but so you can finally stand in freedom, so that nothing is left hanging, so that the note they meant to deliver can finally reach your hands. You may not have all the answers. You may not even know how you'll respond. But be ready, because the moment is coming. Something left behind is returning, not as a shadow, but as a sign. And when it does, you'll understand why heaven never let them forget you. There are chapters of your story that have never made sense, moments so painful, so abrupt, so unjust, that no explanation could soothe them. You've replayed conversations that never had closure, seasons that ended without cause, opportunities that slipped through your hands like vapor. You've asked the silent question more times than you can count: why did it happen that way? And heaven was silent, not because it didn't care, but because the answer required time. Alignment takes time. What you saw as isolated wounds were actually pieces of a divine architecture, and now, for the first time in years, the fragments are beginning to form a picture. You're about to understand why they had to leave. Why certain people walked away right when you needed them most. Why the door you prayed would open was slammed shut in your face. Why every almost turned to ash. You weren't being punished. You were being positioned, protected, held back from things that glittered but would have gutted you from the inside out. You didn't miss your destiny. You were being shaped for it. And now, in the quiet convergence of timing and truth, the threads are weaving together. The people who were removed are being replaced by those who can carry your heart with care. The roles that were stolen are being returned in higher form. The dreams you buried are rising again, not as fantasy, but as promises whose roots have finally reached deep enough to break the surface. This is where heaven reveals its strategy. You'll begin to see divine fingerprints on the very things you used to resent. You'll notice that if you had stayed in that place, said yes to that person, taken that path, you would not be here ready, whole and clear. You'll see that the rejection was a rescue. The silence was an answer. The brokenness was a bridge. And most of all, you'll begin to trust again, not just others, but heaven's process. You'll understand that it wasn't chaos. It was choreography. Every step, every pause, every loss, it was moving you to this exact point in time. The alignment has begun. The click of divine timing is in motion. People are being shifted. Conversations are being reopened. Moments are being restructured. And in the days to come, you will look back on what once confused you, and you will say with tears in your eyes and awe in your voice, "Now I see it. Now I understand why." Because the plan was never broken. It was simply unfolding. Heaven is not simply trying to soothe you. It's not merely here to pat your back and say, "You'll be okay." This moment, this movement goes far beyond comfort. It is a divine repositioning. You are not being consoled. You are being recalibrated, rerouted, planted again in higher ground. You may have grown used to survival mode. You've stayed still to protect what was left. You've played small to avoid more loss. You've learned how to hold your breath emotionally, hoping that one day things might finally feel safe again. But heaven is not just handing you peace for your pain. It's calling you out of the shadows and into the place you were born to stand in. The season of hiding is closing. The wilderness was not your destination. It was your formation. And now that you have been shaped by the fire, you are being released into your rightful position. That position won't look like everyone else's. It may not come with applause. It may not be flashy, but it will be rooted, firm, aligned. You will find yourself being drawn into rooms you didn't expect, seated at tables where you once felt disqualified, invited into conversations where your voice finally matters. This is not the result of striving. It is the result of obedience, surrender, long-suffering, and now heaven is answering your faith with movement. You're not just receiving what was stolen, you're being placed where you were always meant to thrive. Old labels will fall away. Old roles will not fit. The way people once treated you will begin to shift, not because they changed, but because you no longer carry the same frequency. You no longer vibrate at the level of brokenness. Your very presence has been rewired to reflect glory. Peace will walk into the room with you. Authority will rest quietly on your shoulders, and those who once overlooked you won't be able to deny what you now carry. This repositioning isn't about ego, it's about mission. The place you're being shifted into is not just for comfort, but for impact. The healed version of you is needed. The awakened, unburdened version of you is ready. You're not being raised up to boast, you're being sent to carry light, to anchor others who are still waiting for what you now carry. And because heaven can trust you, heaven is lifting you. So step carefully but boldly. Be humble but confident. There's no need to shrink anymore. This new place, this new space, it belongs to you. You are not just being healed, you are being repositioned. This is the moment heaven has been preparing you for. The waiting has not been in vain. The silence was never neglect. What felt like delay was divine orchestration. Behind the scenes, beyond your awareness, something sacred was taking shape. And now the time has arrived. The note has been sent. The miracle has been released. You may not know exactly when it will appear or how it will reach you, but it's already in motion, tracing its way toward your life with precision no human hand could engineer. It may arrive in the form of a phone call, a name you haven't heard in years, a message that stops you mid-breath, or a shift in someone's heart you never thought would change. It might show up in a conversation that was never supposed to happen, or in a moment that feels too exact to be coincidence. But when it comes, you'll know. Not because of dramatic signs, but because of the stillness inside you. A peace that enters like a familiar voice. A breath that feels deeper than the ones before it. A sudden quiet in your soul, as if heaven is holding its breath with you. This isn't just something to make you feel better. This is fulfillment, completion, restoration. It's the beginning of a new season that doesn't resemble the old. You're not circling the same lesson again. You're crossing a threshold. What is being released now is not temporary comfort. It's permanent change, tangible shift, real breakthrough. You will touch it. You will see it. You will recognize it as something heaven held until your spirit was ready to carry it. You won't need to strive. You won't need to force it or prove yourself worthy of it. The miracle will come with ease, not because it's light, but because you've been strengthened. The weight you once would have collapsed under is now the very thing you're prepared to hold. And when it settles, you'll feel the atmosphere around you shift. Your name will be mentioned in rooms you haven't entered. Your presence will be requested in places that once overlooked you, and none of it will feel like vengeance. It will feel like justice. Still, not everyone will understand. Not everyone will celebrate. And that's okay. This miracle isn't for validation. It's not for show. It's personal, sacred, meant to be held in quiet awe. So protect it. Let it grow before you speak of it. Guard it until it's strong enough to stand on its own. You'll know when to share. And with whom. Until then, let it be your secret with heaven, your answered whisper, your holy proof that what you carried in silence was never ignored. Because this is not just the end of a season. It is the opening of something entirely new. A moment written into your story before you were born. A shift that makes the pain make sense. A mercy that feels too beautiful for words yet is undeniably real. This is what heaven has been preparing you for, not just survival, not just healing, but return, reversal, revival, a tangible encounter with the kindness of God that does not need to be explained, only received. So breathe, open your hands, let the fear fall, let the striving cease. The miracle is already on the way. And this time it's not passing you by. The note has been sent. The gate has opened. The angels are moving. The promise is landing. And this time it's yours.